7 of the Project Bag podcast. My name is Gemma and I'm coming to you from my home in Kent where I live with my husband and our two really fluffy cats, Archie and Kit 9. This is a podcast about making things, predominantly sewing and knitting and crochet, but with some other bits thrown in as well that I try along the way. So last week, for example, we had a little bit of baking, and next week we're going to probably have some needle felting as well. But today it's a little bit of a short one. For those of you who don't know already, I went back to work this week. I took a temporary job in a school fairly locally to me, still a bit of a schlep, and it's been a bit of a shock to find myself back at work, and it's seriously interfering with my making time. So a bit of a shorter episode today, but more about that later. Oh, right, well, where can you find me? Well, you found me here, so you found me on YouTube, that's sorted. I'm on Instagram. I am the Project Bag on Instagram with some underscores. I'll pop it here for you. I am also on Facebook as the Project Bag. On Ravelry, I am the Project Bag UK, and there is a Ravelry group as well. The Project Bag podcast group. The link will be down below. It's so lovely to have some of you joining in with that already. That's excellent. Along with the Facebook page, there is a Facebook group, which is more of a multi-craftual environment. Ravelry is predominantly for things like knitting and crochet and spinning, but the Facebook page, the whole idea behind the Project Bag is it's multi-craftual and inclusive and celebrating all things crafty. So that might be for you if you participate in any other crafts as well as the fibre arts. And there is a blog at theprojectbag.co.uk. I have been a bit rubbish at uploading it the last 3 weeks, but typically there is a post that goes up every Sunday. It's different to what you get on the podcast. The podcast focuses on my personal making journey and showing you what I've been up to and what I've been learning along the way. But the blog talks about lots of different things. So there was a blog post about a trip to Cockington and a kind of review of it as a family holiday destination. There was an interview with a crafter, Craig Daniels, who I spoke about a couple of episodes ago. There you can find some recipes on there, the odd tutorial. There are tutorials on the Project Bag YouTube channel as well. Wow, that's a lot of information. So yeah, welcome back, welcome. I'm so pleased to have so many of you with me. Those of you who've been with me since the very start, thank you for sticking with me and supporting me. Those of you who've joined me more recently, thank you again. Welcome back. Glad you've come back again. And to those people viewing the podcast for the first time, welcome. As I said, this is going to be a bit of a shorter one. I'm very pushed for time this morning, and also I don't have a lot to show you. Don't take my saying I'm pushed for time though, so I don't want to talk to you, because I do, because otherwise I wouldn't have gone to this effort of getting everything set up to sit with you and try and carve out some time to talk to you this morning. Ah, right. Thank you. First of all, got a bit of admin work to do. Let's talk about the 100 subscriber giveaway. This isn't something I mentioned on the last podcast because well, we were quite a way away from 100 subscribers, so I didn't think it would matter or be relevant for a little while. But yeah, so many of you have joined us in the last week. It's blown my mind. So, at the beginning of the week, I was like, oh, right, okay, so we're going to have a 100 subscriber giveaway soon. But we're past 100 subscribers, which blows my mind that more than 100 of you, that any of you would choose to want to come back each week and listen to me and watch me talk about my crafting journey. So thank you, that is such a compliment. I really appreciate it, and I feel like celebrating. Let's celebrate with 100 subscriber giveaway. I am going to open a thread. That's it, it's called a thread. Should really remember that, seeing as it's like fibre arty and thread, fibre, yarn. Yeah, I should get that. Okay, so I'm going to open a thread in the Ravelry group. I'm not sure what the prompt will be yet, but let's just get the conversation going, okay? There's lots of us, let's start talking. So there'll be a prompt in there, and I will close it just before I sit down to record the next podcast. I think I'm going to be recording on Friday afternoons because that's my set afternoon off from work at the moment, part-timer. Yeah, so I'm going to be recording on Friday afternoons. So I think probably I'll close the thread on, well, Friday lunchtime, I should expect, probably around about 12 o'clock-ish. And then I'll get home, record the podcast and draw a winner. With regards to prizes, no idea yet. It's going to be a wonderful surprise. You might have seen some of my prize packs that I've put together already in the past, so hopefully you think that is worth having a go at joining it in. Right, what next? More admin, I'm afraid. Oh, it's a busy morning. There's lots of admin going on now. We didn't have this in the first couple of episodes, but as more people are joining and more's going on, it's all starting. It's starting to feel, you know, I've said this before, like a proper podcast. Admin, we have a KAL going on. It is the Crack Those Whips KAL. The idea being that I shared with you my list of whips. Actually, I think I've got it here. Just scared the living daylights out of the cat who was curled up asleep on my studio lights bag. But here we are. I shared my list of whips with you and my soon to be cast on, and talked last time. Oh, you can see studio lights there. You see them reflected. Look, there they are. Woo. See, it doesn't look this good naturally. Okay, lots of work goes into this. Oh God, if you had the natural me as well as the unedited me, and this is going to be fairly unedited, then, oh, I don't know. But anyway, there we go. All right, so works in progress list is particularly long. I was feeling really overwhelmed when I came back from Perth. So, and I was talking to the lovely Anna, who is Yarnesty on Instagram and Facebook, and I don't know about Facebook actually, but Instagram and Ravelry. And we were both feeling a bit like we kind of lost our knitting mojo a little bit, which when you consider we've just been at a fibre festival celebrating all things fibre, you'd have thought our mojo was like, yeah, come on, we're really, really into this. Let's make all the things. But actually, we both kind of felt a bit like, nah, not really sure. Not sure what we want to knit. We've got so much on the needles, not feeling particularly inspired. It happens to us all. So I decided that we were going to have a craft along, the Crack Those Whips KAL, with the idea being that anything that was already on the needles before the 15th of September, and I'm actually going to change that to the 16th of September because the podcast didn't go up until the 16th of September. So anything that was on the needles, so this includes your Perth cast-ons now, guys, all right? Those of you who cast on with Pip's massive Perth cast-on celebration on the 15th of September, they are now included in this. You're welcome. Because I couldn't get organised and had technology issues, and oh, it's a whole nother headache. For those of you that might not know, the podcast was really late last week because it was meant to go up on the Saturday morning. And I was editing it and I lost the whole lot. I don't know what happened. I hit save and the video editing software I use crashed and it just went. The air was a little bit blue. There were some choice words said. My husband was like, go to bed. It's very late. Pick this up in the morning, because by this point it was 11:30 on the Friday night and I was pulling my hair out with stress over this podcast. Yeah, so it was very late. So for that reason, I'm going to adjust the dates. So anything that was on the needles by the 15th of September. So nothing cast on from the 16th onwards, okay? It's whips only. And the idea is basically you crack through as many of your whips as you can. Each whip counts as an entry. There is a chatter thread already open in the Ravelry group. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to open the finished objects thread. And each time you finish an object, pop a picture in there. Tell us a bit about it, what it is. Maybe how long it's been on the needles. Is it a languishing whip? Oh, who's got the longest living whip on their needles? That could be a fun discussion. Mine is about 15 years. Yeah, possibly 16. It depends if I cast it on when I was 14 or 15. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's mine. That is not going to be finished. I don't think it's ever going to be finished. I think it's just going to live in a project bag underneath my bed for forevermore now. It'll be one of those things that I pass on, you know, to whoever is unlucky enough. To you, I leave my long languishing whip. Well, that's a cheerful subject for a Friday morning. So, KALs. sorted. What else? Is there anything else? That's it. There is the Great Festive Cast-on, or Great Christmas Cast-on, is going to be starting a little bit later down the line. So just have a think about that. If you're going to be doing any gift knitting, we're going to cast on together on a particular date, which I've forgotten, but I've got it written down somewhere, and I will put it just down here. So that's coming up as well. So there we are. 100 subscriber giveaway closes next week. The Crack Those Whips Cowl is underway, and there is chatter in the chatter thread. Please do join in with that. Each finished object represents a chance to win a prize. Okay, so I'm going to say there's a finished object, just the one. Technically, this was a finished object last week, or I showed it as a finished object last week. But I suppose I shouldn't have done because it wasn't technically finished. And it is this bag. Huzzah! Which I made. If you can hear scratching, my cat has just decided that the neck curtains are the perfect thing to stretch against. I'm going to have to get new ones. I've got holes in now because cats. So here we are, my little bag. I really like it. I've not worked with fabric like this before. I said last time on the podcast it was a saw this and thought of you moment for someone that I was spending some time with at Perth, and I just thought, yeah, this is going to be perfect. What a perfect way to say thank you. And there are other things in the works as well, but here we are. And this is it. This is what's caused me all the problems. Looks pretty simple. Ooh, looks pretty simple, doesn't it? I was really struggling. I bought these little dongly squidgy thingies. You know, the things you get with drawstrings, you know, when you're a child and you've got the hood and the plastic things that you push up. Yeah, drawstring double thingies. And that was great, but when I threaded the cord through that I'd bought, because originally I put white cord through here, not the cream that goes with the handle, it didn't fit through the dongly thingy. Okay, so then I threaded this through, and actually I quite liked it because it matched the handle. But again, I couldn't get it through the dongly thingy. So I was like, right, well now what? Because I don't just want ends that are going to fray. I mean, it's not so bad if you're using cord because you tie a knot in it and the frayed edges of the cord, I think they look quite sweet. But this just wasn't going to look good. And so I hit upon the idea of making a tab, and it took me 4 goes to get it right. Because I ended up with like a rough edge showing, which shouldn't have been showing, and then the next one wasn't quite the right size, it was too big, and this one, the third one, Goldilocks style, was just right. So yeah, you can see, yeah, and I think that looks okay. So there we are. There's this drawstring bag with a very long drawstring, actually probably too long, and a handle. So there we are. So I'm showing that now as a finished object. It will be winging its way to the person in question probably next week when I can get my act together and get to the post office. Speaking of which, Claire, your prize is still sat here, but it's all packaged up beautifully now, ready to be sent to you. So that will be, I promise it'll be on its way soon. Okay, on to works in progress. I'm going to start with sewing. I very nearly didn't sit down to record this podcast this morning. I was feeling very stressed out last night because I'd set myself a goal of what I wanted to have to show on the podcast. I think it's really interesting actually because I was watching Amy's podcast just last night, and she was talking about something similar but different. She was talking about how her crafting decisions, how she chooses knits now and what yarn she chooses, has been affected by the fact she's a podcaster and a dyer. And I kind of sat there thinking, yeah, I know how you feel. Not as a podcaster and a dyer, but as a podcaster, I kind of feel a little bit under pressure to have something. I feel like I should have something worth your while watching each week. So I should have finished objects. I should have a variety of things. And I set myself targets. Now, normally the target that I had of getting this thing that's in my hand finished wouldn't have been a problem. I probably could have finished a couple of them. But I've gone back to work this week, and so my making time has been drastically reduced. And also I've been really, really tired. You know, I haven't been in full-time work in nearly 18 months since I was signed off with depression Nearly a year and a half ago, I was signed off and I went from working full-time to not working at all. And then obviously I was starting up the business, which would have represented full-time work itself, but of a very different nature. But my circumstances with Lara have meant that actually I've taken it much more slowly than I probably would have done otherwise. And so it's been a bit of a shock to the system to suddenly having to set an alarm in the morning and get up. And so I actually have to get up and leave earlier than my husband does. So I've gone from sort of waking up when he does in the morning to make his sandwiches for work and, you know, just sort of pootling about a bit and starting work at maybe 9 o'clock in the comfort of my own home. I have to be sort of through the door by 8:10, through the door of my place of work. So it's a bit, I'm knackered. All right, I'm knackered and I'm not moaning. I'm lucky to be working. I know that. And I know lots of people can't find work and I probably sound like a really spoiled person, but you know my circumstances. You know I'm not just some sort of desperate housewife who's now in a sulk because she's going back to work. I'm tired. And the goal I set myself to get this finished, while it would have been doable last week, was not doable this week. And I nearly didn't record the podcast because I thought I've got to have it finished. I haven't got enough interesting stuff to show people. They're tuning in, they're subscribing. And I was watching Amy's podcast when she was saying about how she felt that she should be choosing different knits and thinking about sort of content for the podcast. And I was watching it and I was thinking, no, do what makes you happy, knit what makes you happy, knit with what makes you happy. You know, if you've got a stash, use it. And I thought this morning, as I was considering not setting up for the podcast, I thought, do you know what, I should really follow my own advice there. I mean, I haven't gone as far as giving it to Amy yet, but you know, I probably will. So I'm here, all that to say that I am recording. Oh my goodness. I am recording the podcast with what should have been a finished object, but isn't. But I thought I'd show it to you as a work in progress with its imperfections. I think I said on Instagram the other day that I kind of want to adopt a kind of no filter idea to my life, because they've got this whole social media thing where you see the polished, finished product and you don't see the hot mess that goes on behind the scenes. But anyway, here we are. So my not quite finished my not quite finished object, actually nowhere near is it, is a Halloween bag. Yay! It's going to have, I love this fabric. I'm going to stop waving it around and actually show it to you. How cute is that? Like little pumpkin cats and little mummy cats and skeleton, I think they're raccoons. And witchy foxes on broomsticks. I mean, come on, what Halloween would be complete without a witchy fox on a broomstick? I know. So it is lined in orange. This is one side of the bag in case you hadn't got that yet. So front side of the bag, inside of the bag, and I've started inserting the zip. Okay, so the zip's there. And I got as far as starting the top stitching. Now the purpose of the top stitching along the outside isn't just to pretty it, it's to stop the lining and the outer moving up and getting caught in the zip. So it has a proper function as well. But I did it last night and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, if you can see the holes. Yeah, you can just about. You see I went off kilter there and it was all wonky. And I wouldn't have been happy, you know, putting that in my shop. So I'm in the process of unpicking the top stitching, and my eyes were so heavy last night. I thought, I can't do this. I can't stay up any later to get this done. I will probably do it wrong again. But how cute is that? I've picked a kind of contrasting green zip. It kind of picks out the green in the moons. And obviously an orange lining. I've gone all out for the kitsch this Halloween. I have this fabric on a green background, and I think I've also got it on a purple background. And I've got purple bats as well. So there are going to be a few of these bags available from the 1st of October, from that update, the first sort of coming into October shop update. So that will be available. So there you are, work in progress. Right, so you can see all the lining. Oh, right. works in progress. I have been trying to crack my own whips. I have been, I'm going to sound like I'm moaning, I'm not, but I am really tired, and so my concentration hasn't been there. At work, I have been taking my Dragon Hill Studio yarn, which is the that's Dragon Hill Studios label. They're Sherbon Sparkle Sock 4-ply in the colourway Pink Dahlia. I cast this on the Sunday at Perth when I sat with Amy and Ellie, just so I had something to work on while and as you can see, I have got a few stripe repeats done. I've done the cuff, this is the cuff here, up to here, and now I'm working my way down the sock for the stripe repeats. And it's really fun. I'm really enjoying how it's knitting up. I talked about this at the time when I showed it in acquisitions. I love the way the stripes aren't just one colour, they kind of go deeper and lighter again. It just adds a little something extra to the striping. I think it's just so incredible. It's like alchemy. Looking at this and knowing that someone's done this by hand, amazing. Yeah. So I've been taking this to work, and I've been working on it in my break time and lunch times to try and make sure that I don't fall down the rabbit hole of and into the trap of working through my breaks and lunches. I need to take really good care of myself now I'm back at work in an environment which can be high stress, and there's a lot of pressure and lots of work to be done. So yeah, it's been my way of making sure that I'm doing that. So I've done a few stripe repeats at work, probably the last 3 or 4. I've been there for 4 days. So yeah, I've been doing that. So that's it in the cake. Absolutely beautiful. So that is work in progress number 2 that has had some love. Work in progress number 3 that has had some love is at the moment living in my little sock-sized project bag. I don't know why I'm struggling to talk to you so much this morning. That's really bad. And it is the front of my Calypso cardigan. Longer term viewers will remember that I'm doing this sea of stockinette for my mum's friend who was unable to finish it for herself. Found it a little bit hard to work with. So I said, I'll do it, give it to me. So I've had the back done for a while. I cast the front on, but I've now set myself a target of working at least sort of 5 rows a day, which I've been sticking quite well to. And I'm trying, so I don't lose count, I am using my progress keepers. This is a naked one that I just clipped on, and this one, don't laugh too much, all right? I was having a play around with making polymer clay charms, more polymer clay charms for my stitch markers and progress keepers, and so I thought I'd have a go at making a ghost. There he is. Now, yeah, apparently it doesn't look very ghost-like, so this little fella is just going to be for me. This little fella, he's going to hang out on my knitting and keep me company. People I've spoken to say actually they think this one is a bit more ghost-like, so maybe those ones will make it. But my smiley little happy little ghost of an abused apostrophe, you know, he's going to hang out with me. So yeah, I am 60 rows into the 100 rows of stockinette, so I'm nearly there. It doesn't feel possible to be nearly there, but if I find my stitch marker, you can see, yeah, I've got about another 40 to go. And I don't know if my tension's changed dramatically. Oh yeah, there we are. So I've got that much to go in the stockinette, and then I will be putting a stitch marker in or progress keeper in for the armholes, and then I'll carry on with more stockinette until I get to the shoulders. So hopefully by the next podcast, at least one of the fronts will be done, and the second one hopefully will be on the needles. So I'm using my Zings. My tension came up with 3.5mm needles for this, and I'm using King Cole Calypso yarn, which is why I call it my Calypso cardigan. Oh, right, work in progress number 4. Right, spoiler alert. If you are working the Tulameen Mystery Shawl or want to work the Tulameen Mystery Shawl and have not yet finished clue 1, look away now. So, Sweet Georgia Tulameen Mystery Shawl knit along. If you don't want a spoiler, look away now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I have finally finished clue 1. You might remember that I said that I'd had to pull the whole lot off the needles while I was away, because when I was at the Countess's knitting session, I made a mistake. But here we are, and I've joined in Radioactive, and oh my goodness, doesn't that look just, wow, you're going to see me coming. And actually, I really love it. I mean, it looks like bright yellow, highlighter yellow here, but it is kind of green, radioactive green. And I just love that there. I've only done the 2 rows because that's the end of clue 1. I've yet to start clue 2. But you can see it's got this gorgeous repeat of eyelet lace, and it's kind of leaning itself towards being a square. I cannot wait to see what happens next. And I know that sounds ridiculous because clue 3 is already out. In fact, is clue 4 out? I don't know. Definitely clue 3. I'm really behind. I need to catch up, and I totally will. And this knit along we're doing will really help me with that. I just can't wait to see what happens next with it. I am using Truly Hooked yarns in the colourway Mermaids Can Be Goths 2, which is a repeatable colourway. Don't think it was a one-off. Radioactive, which was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy Club, and the other yarn I'm going to use, but I don't have it within easy reaching distance, is called Gamora, and again that's from the Guardians of the Galaxy Club. So those are my yarns there. Now, my final work in progress, and the final bit of anything I've got to show you today, is a new cast on. Yep, it's a new cast on. The Perth cast on that I spoke to you about last week, I really wanted to join in. I thought, what a wonderful way to keep the kind of festival feeling going, and also to do something with my newfound friends. And so I wanted to join in. I was late casting on, but I had committed. I had said I wanted to cast on. I was going to use Springfield Farms. Here we are, there's their label, Springfield Farms. 100% pure Lane sheep's wool. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I wanted to use them. I've got them in the 2 colours. I picked up 1 ball of each of the 2 colours that they brought out. The grey and this kind of golden mustardy yellow. And I wanted to do colour work with them. I've been watching Ellie from Ellie's Skein Dear Knits podcast for quite a while now. I did go back and start working my way through from the beginning. So I'm in this weird situation where I've watched some of the first ones. Does anyone explain to me how to avoid this with colour work, please? Can you pop your answers below or drop me a note in the Ravelry group or something, because this is driving me nuts. I'm new to colour work. I wanted to do some, and having watched her, here we go, watch it spin now. I'm having to do this every couple of rounds. Bit annoying. Is there a way of avoiding that, please? Let me know. But I'd wanted to do her Selbu mittens for a while. I just think her designs are so beautiful, and I find her podcast really inspiring me to try colour work and to work with different yarns. I am not a rustic yarn lover by nature, okay? I don't like anything sort of scratching me, especially, I don't think I could wear this around my neck, it would drive me potty. But I stuck my hand in the ball of yarn and I thought it would work as, I thought it would work quite nicely as mittens. And so here we are. I have done the cuff and part of the hand of the part of the hand of the mitten. So there we are, looking gorgeous. I really like how it's coming out. I mean, My tension, I mean, it looks quite good here. My tension does leave a bit to be desired. It's my first ever colour work. I'm really proud of it. I think Ellie's pattern is so well written. I totally understand it. It took me a while to get my head around the thumb increases for the blank space caused by that. That did put me off a bit, but that's nothing to do with her pattern. That's me being really nervous of having not done anything before. I read her instructions through a couple of times, and actually she's explained it so well. If you just stop trying to overthink it and trust her, then yeah. And these are my floats. I'm quite pleased with those. They're different lengths because sometimes you've got where you alternate one by one stitch, the yellow and the you alternate one by one stitch, the yellow and the grey. So sometimes your float's a bit shorter. I have tried to not let them go any further than 4 stitches. I thought that was probably best and would stop me yanking it in too much. I mean, I'm saying it's my first ever colour work. I'm actually lying to you because that's what I do. Not on purpose. It's just, I've just suddenly remembered that actually I had a go at knitting. I used to get like the comic knitting magazines, do you know what I mean? The ones that are all bright and cheerful and have really weird things like apple cozies in. And years ago I had one and it had a calendar of makes, and one of the makes was a stocking, a red and white stocking with flecks of the white across the main body. It had a kind of snowflake motif across the cuff, and then the main body was red but with odd stitches of white, so it looks like little flecks of snow. And my tension was so tight there, I frogged the whole thing, because actually the cuff did that. I mean, literally the ends were that sort of shape, and then the foot was, yeah. So I know that I have to be really careful with tension, but I think, I mean, there are a couple of bits in there you can see where perhaps it's been pulled a bit tight, but I know, I think that's okay. I'm quite pleased with that. I'm not going to have this finished in a couple of evenings, like someone manages to finish their mittens in a couple of evenings, mentioning no names, but you know who you are. I'm just enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the process. I must admit, I found the cuff really easy to do, really straightforward. And then I saw the charts for because I'm a bad knitter, I don't read the whole pattern all the way through. I mean, you're lucky if you get me past the what you need bit before I start. Yeah, and then I saw the charts for the main thing and I was just like, but it's really okay. It's really, really okay. So yeah, I've started my increasing for the thumb, and I'm going to stop waving it around now because you don't need to see it anymore. And that's it. That's it for the podcast. We're done. All the creative content finished. There is no baking. There is no more sewing. I haven't had a chance to try the embroidery that I want. With regards to things going in the shop, you've seen I've got a work in progress getting ready to go in. You've seen my rejected ghosts. Don't know if I've shown you these before, but I have some little pumpkins that I have made, pumpkin stitch markers, and they are going in as well. They'll be going in hopefully on Sunday's update. But that's it. That's it really, short and sweet. I'm really sorry. But okay, so I've got a little bit of time. I can talk to you about now what's been going on. So you already know that I've gone back to work, so I won't talk too much about that now. But last Sunday, I had the absolute pleasure of starting my Knitting for Beginners course in Maidstone, where I live, or near where I live. It's something that was meant to start in February when I was starting the business. It was due to start on the, I think it was the 18th of February, but my little lady decided, well, she didn't decide, we've been over this. My little lady was born on the 11th of February, so I had to cancel. So then I rearranged it for the 18th of March. And as you know, unfortunately, the 15th of March, yeah. So I had to postpone again. But we finally started it last Sunday on the 16th of September. And you know, people have been waiting so patiently for such a long time. I was delighted that a couple of the ladies who'd signed up originally came back. They said, yeah, we'd still love to learn with you, and along with some others that signed up. And we had about 8. We were supposed to have 9, but one person dropped out. At least I think they dropped out. They asked to book their place and I sent the invoice, and then they emailed me to say they hadn't got the invoice. So I sent it again and I just didn't hear from them. I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem with people needing to drop out. Life happens. Case in point, cancelled it twice already, and you know, it took 7 months to get the first session done. I totally get that. What I find frustrating is when people don't let you know. I really wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be cross. But yeah, I'm not going to get on the whole soapbox thing. I feel a bit sad that they didn't feel able to tell me. I mean, we had someone else who signed up, and you know, sent the invoice, but then emailed me 2 days later saying, I'm really sorry, I think there was a car accident or the car broke down or something, and like a huge mechanical bill. I was like, oh goodness, of course, no, I totally understand, don't worry about it, you know, cancelled the invoice, cancelled her place on the course. Would you like me to let you know next time one runs? And she said, yes please, and that's fine, you know. And if she signs up, brilliant. If she doesn't, well, you know, that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes people change their minds and decide something isn't for them. But anyway, we had 8 really lovely ladies. It was such a pleasure to meet you all. I did feel a bit at a disadvantage because I know that some of them follow the Facebook page, and it turns out some people also follow me on Instagram, and a couple have started watching the podcast as well. So I was like, yeah, okay, I feel a bit naked. I feel like you know a lot more about me than I do about you. But we started to make what I call the sampler cowl, and it starts with a garter stitch section and progresses on and on through all these different sections with a tricky chevron section in the middle, and back we go. So the idea is that for someone beginning to knit, they start just with the knit casting on and then with the knit stitch to create the garter stitch, and then they're starting to use pearls for stockinette, and then we move on to different combinations of the knit and the pearl stitch, and they end up with their very own version of the sampler cowl. This pattern is about to be tech edited by the lovely Sharon of Dragon Hill Studios, and it will be available to buy from my Ravelry store just before Christmas. There is already a free pattern up there. The ripple scarf is already in Ravelry, ready to go. But yeah, I just had such a great time. I left feeling really like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do, you know, teach people to knit. We had great coffee, great conversation. I took some yarn for them to squish. I took some of my stash acquisitions from Fibre East and from Perth, and sort of talked them through chunky to Aran to DK to 4-ply to missed out 2-ply, but we went to lace, and different fibre contents. Yeah, so we talked a bit about that, and also about, you know, how knitting doesn't have to be ridiculously expensive. You know, they were holding one skein, I think it was the Watercolours and lace, which was £21, and you know, I could hear the gasps. And then you've got the other end of the scale where I've got my sock that I knit from a ball of yarn that cost me £2.50. So I got a pair of socks for £2.50. So yeah, there we are. So we were talking about that, but they were really, really lovely. They did so well. So well. One lady, poor thing, messaged me that afternoon and said, I've done something wrong. So I'm trying to help her remotely. But yeah, they all did so well. And people were at different stages. Some had never cast on a stitch in their life. Some had knit in the past, but not for years. So yeah, we've got loads of different experiences. Everyone found different things easier than others. And it was just great. It was such a pleasure. So that's that, and that pattern will be available once I've taught. It will be available in December once I've taught the next round of beginners knitting courses, which are starting incidentally on the 1st of November, which is a Thursday, so that's a weekday, at Harper's in Maidstone, which is a coffee and gift shop. So that will be Thursday mornings, and the second round of beginners knitting courses on the weekends. On the Sundays will be starting on the 4th of November, so it'll be all the Sundays in November. Yeah, so as I said, I've gone back to work. I've taken a part-time supply position. I mean, it's kind of more like full-time at the minute. It's four days a week, 2 half days, but it's only period 5 that I get off, so it's pretty much full-time. It's good to be back in the classroom and to be working with kids again. I did really enjoy it. You know, you don't choose that as your career and spend 10 years working in it and not, you know, if you hate it. So no, I did enjoy that, but I have found it really, really tiring, as I said. So we'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to part-time after half term, so things might get a bit more on an even keel then. In other news, today we are actually, I mean, I'm about to go down to Essex to see Lara and for a counselling appointment. But after that, I'm hanging around in Essex, and my husband's joining me later because a dear friend of ours is running a charity event to raise money for Lara's legacy. She's having a charity fundraiser, which is just so lovely. So we're going to go and take part in that. And then, yeah, tomorrow we are surprising, one of Lara's godmothers and I are surprising one of Lara's other godmothers with afternoon tea for her birthday. And I can say this because this isn't going up until before she'll have been to it, and actually I don't think she even watches the podcast. So yeah, so we're going to do that and celebrate her birthday. And then, yeah, that's it really. Quiet weekend. Sunday, obviously, I'll be teaching my lovely ladies again. Yeah, it's nice. I kind of think that the weekends are going to be the best bit of the week now I've gone back to work, obviously. But yeah, so there we are. Much shorter episode today. Probably only just over half an hour by the time I've edited it and cut all the idiot bits out that I've done, cut all the nonsense out. Whatever you're doing, I hope you've had a really, really lovely week, and I hope you've managed to get lots of crafting done. And I will see you next week for hopefully some finished objects. Get cracking those whips, guys. Take care. Bye.